Mr. Monroe?
I support the ruling of the chair.
Mr. Bronson?
It's a yes or no vote.
I support the appeals. No, thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that.
Mr. Adair?
I support the ruling of the president.
You can say yes.
Yeah.
Ms. Andrews? No. Mr. Barker?
Yes.
Mr. Beebe?
No.
Mr. Cassetti?
Yes.
Mr. Colby? I'm sorry, Mr. Colby?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr.
No.
Mr. Daniele?
Yes.
Mr. Dobson?
Yes.
Mr. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Eckel?
No.
Mr. Esposito?
No.
Mr. Gamble?
No.
Mr. Gumina?
No.
Mr. Haney?
No.
Mr. Hanna?
Yes.
Mr. Hyder?
No.
Ms. Paley?
No.
Mr. LaFountain?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
No.
Mr. Lightfoot? Mr. McCann?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
No.
Mr. Cucciarello?
Yes.
Mrs. Valerio? Yes. Mr. Yolovich?
Yes.
President Zyra?
Yes.
Yes. Support the chair.
As I indicated, I sincerely hope that both caucuses will be working.
Mr. President, I'd just like to reiterate my support for the concept here, and I'd like to publicly make the commitment that to the members of the Democratic Caucus and the community that I will work with Legislator Bronson and the bipartisan budget work group to accomplish what we can here conceptually, even though we were unable to find the right mechanism tonight to do that. I'm committed to working with the members of the minority to make this happen in some way, shape, or form.
Mr. Bronson?
Mr. President, with levity this evening, I didn't think you liked going to meetings, so now that you've changed your opinion, certainly this is a proposal that we take very seriously. It's one we talked about. Trying to find cost savings where we can is an important objective, and certainly in trying economic times, on behalf of those whom we represent, going forward with the proposal in whatever form it ultimately takes is something that is important to us as a caucus, and finding cost efficiencies and savings in the county budget is very important to us. Thank you.
And for the record, Mr. President, I don't mind going to budget meetings when they go like this. I thoroughly enjoyed this interaction this evening, despite its minor ups and downs in comparison to other years. I think that finding ways to work together to afford taxpayers in this community efficiencies is what we should be doing. We need to find the right mechanism for doing that. Thank you very much.
Legislator Cassetti.
I just want to make sure, though, that we're done patting each other on the back now.
Well, maybe not.
Okay. I would just like to state, before we vote on the proposed budget, that for the record, my wife works at Monroe Community Hospital.
Thank you, Legislator Cassetti. Further discussion on the budget? Ms. Andrews?
Thank you, Mr. President. Next, again, I want to thank the administration and the finance department, budget director for the department heads for the time they took reviewing the budget with us this year and answering many questions. I think the county faces, and actually the entire community is in very tough and challenging times, and every day there seems to be another difficulty that makes things harder. And in a situation like that, we really are presented with two ways of approaching it. We can either confront those difficult times and make tough decisions now and take them head on and not pass very difficult decisions onto the future, or we can pass them onto the future and say that no, we're not going to deal with that today, we'll deal with it tomorrow or next year or next year's budget. This budget contains a 2-year projected deficit of $104 million. And to date, I have not heard one word from the county executive, one word from the majority or from the administration about how it intends to deal with that sort of projected deficit. I find that very troubling. And I find that taking the approach of saying, no, we don't want to do this today. We're going to do it tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow it'll be easier. Maybe tomorrow something will change. But we don't want to address the hard questions and make difficult decisions today. I find that inappropriate and an irresponsible way of doing business, especially in today's environment. I think that the community deserves better from us. It asks for better from us. And having said that, I will be voting no tonight on this budget. In reviewing the budget over the past few weeks, there are certainly many troubling areas. Some have already been discussed this evening. Just a brief mention here of the elusive and evasive Taxpayer Protection Act that supposedly we operate under. When it was originally introduced, it was presented as a rather straightforward law. I'm left with only the words of, I consider it to be an incredibly political instrument. Even if you use 2008 as a base year, it's nearly impossible to compare mandated in 2008 to mandated in 2009, or non-mandated in 2008 to non-mandated in 2009. Categories change. Items move from non-mandatory to mandated. To me, that's not really transparent, and I don't think it meets the letter of that law. Also, as certainly discussed at length, especially in Human Services and in other committees, the Medicaid Intercept. I think it's a pessimistic option for this community in the long run because it assumes the community's decline. And in the short run, it's already costing the taxpayers money. Instead of staying with the state-imposed cap on Medicaid expenses, whether it's $200,000 more this year or above $6 million, it's somewhere out there. And that's additional expenses the taxpayers of this community bear because of this county's decision to opt into the irrevocable intercept. And the only way, again, I can say this so many times, the only way that this county benefits from the intercept is if the community declines and if revenues decline, and that's when our Medicaid payment would lessen. That, again, to me is just an unacceptable way to approach this county's business and to represent the people that we're elected to represent. My colleagues have spoken about the dangers of one-shots and selling future revenues to balance the budget today. We've had a few examples today about excessive rent payments, at least that's how I would characterize them, to support the existence of a few county employees in a building. And that's just one example of what we almost accidentally stumbled across during the budget process. Imagine what else is in that budget that could be reduced or changed to actually address the structural deficit that this county faces. This is a very difficult time. It demands difficult decisions. We're elected to do that work. We're not elected. We don't sit in this room or stand in this room to pass those decisions off to the future. And as a result of that, I'm going to be voting no.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before concluding my remarks, I want to repeat what we said at the Ways and Means Committee last week, and that is that I and my colleagues on this side of the aisle are very appreciative of all the work that the county budget director, the county finance director, the other county staff have done during the last 6 weeks in providing myriad pieces of information as we requested them. We are very appreciative of that. However, being at the end of the road now, and with the failure of the amendment that I offered a few moments ago, I find myself in the position now that I feel that I have that I have no hope that this budget is headed anywhere but leading this county into severe financial trouble in the future. I think it's most unfortunate that it was determined that the amendment that my colleagues and I offered a few minutes ago was rejected on procedural grounds. It was to us merely putting in place a simple process about some cost efficiencies in county government. Why it would take a charter amendment to do this baffles me. We weren't talking about creating offices or abolishing offices.